Welcome to Sarga Samvad series on inspirational personalities. I am Kritika Srinivasan, a classical musician and an education manager at the Indian Music Experience Museum. Today, I have with me a musician who is an inspiration and a mentor to many musicians, a performer, scholar, innovator, able administrator, composer, and I can just go on with that list. An acclaimed Vainika, a rare blend of the classical conservatism with a belief in evolving to the present, a recipient of Central Sangeet Natak Academy Puraskar, Kalaimamani, Ganakala Bhushana, Karnataka Rajyotsava Award, and many more awards and accolades to her credit. I take immense pleasure in welcoming Dr. Suma Sudhindra to Sarga Samvad series. Hearty welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We'll just get started with your journey. How did the journey with the Veena begin?
As you know, in our generation, everybody learnt Carnatic music. At least in the area I lived in Baswangudi. Everybody learnt music. That's how I started my journey. Of course, my family loved music. But then nobody was a professional musician. So they were all into business, doctors, engineers. So my mother was very keen that I should learn, and I started with vocal. Then at 8 I started with the Veena. So that's how my journey began.
So how was your training with Vidwan Yemani Chittibabu, sir?
Before I learned from Chittibabu sir, I went to Veena Rajarao. Before that I was learning from Rangnaikama and Neela. I started there, and then I did my junior exam, and then Rajarao was my neighbor. He was in the next road. So that's how I started with him, and I learned for quite a long time with Veena L. Rajarao. By the time I went to learn from Dr. Chittibabu, I was already performing. So I'd started my performances, but somehow I felt that my fingering techniques all need to be refined. Those were not like today. You know, you can learn everything on YouTube. If you are smart enough, you can learn. But if you are not smart, you can't learn. But those days it was not like that. The cassettes were just coming in. So if you wanted to learn music, you had to go pursue it with somebody. I think that way I was one of the path-breaking artists. I was one of the first one to go from Bangalore to Chennai to learn. I was spending almost every 15 days, I would be there 3 days, 4 days. I think I made news for all these reasons, because those were the days which was very different.
So how have your gurus influenced your personality?
Definitely you get influenced, especially when you learn an art form from a guru for a long time. Basically, your association with your gurus become a very long association. It's not like you're going to college or you're going to class and you have one teacher coming in for 1 hour. It's like a life lessons you learn. So that's how the influences are. Of course, I'm very influenced by both my gurus. First guru was a stickler to discipline. I was so scared of him, I couldn't even ask him to teach me a composition which I wanted to learn. Like even my junior student today asked me to teach something, but which I could never take the courage to do it. He was that kind of a strict man. And one thing I picked up from him was he would never allow me to look at notation and learn. So I think that's a very big advantage, especially when we are addressing younger students now. I feel they need to do that, because not only your memory increases, but you internalize the composition. So you perform it. If you are vocally singing it, or if I am playing on an instrument, I play it better the moment you internalize it. So that internalization happens only if you memorize. And from young age, if you start learning, for example, he would teach me, say if he is teaching me Tulasi Dala, I'm an instrumentalist, right? Most of the Tyagaraja Krutis will have Anupalvi and Charanam, 2 Sangatis, and then it's like Anupalvi only, but the Sahitya is different. So since I was an instrumentalist, I was very young. I would think, why would I have to learn the other Sahitya? And I would go to class. Then he would say, you remember the Sahitya? Obviously, I was very young and I didn't know the seriousness of it. And then I would say, ha, gottu. But if he asked me, honestly, I didn't know. And then he would send me back home and say, learn it and come back. So that's the kind of disciplined learning I did, and which I feel is a very good thing which I picked up from him, and I was highly influenced by him. And of course, with Chittibabu, when I went to Chittibabu sir, he was like the pop star of Carnatic music. People used to wait outside his house to meet him, which I've seen in my own eyes, in that kind of a star he was. I not only learnt music, I also learnt the game of performance. I think it's not just you learn music, I think there's a lot which goes into performance. Since I was not from a musician's family, it worked beautifully for me because I was with somebody that well known, and my first introduction to musicians was Balamurali Krishna sir, Ramani sir, Nedunuri sir, because they were all coming to his house and I met only them, and I knew only them, no one else. So that's how my musical career started. I went to him because I wanted that tone to get on my Veena. So that's what attracted me to his music. So I went there, and then of course I'm highly influenced by both of them.
Who do you look up to as your role model?
Honestly, I don't have a role model, but I looked up to many musicians. I picked up a lot of nuances, the finer. Music is like, what should I say, it's like a chisel. As much as you chisel it, it sounds better. Layer it, it sounds better. So I always have looked up to, apart from my gurus, I looked up to K.V. Narayan Swami because I always loved his music. In fact, I went and learned with him for some time, and then I also continued with Akesh Srikantan for a long time. I have picked up so many things as I went to learn from KVN. I realized how important it is to emphasize on the sangatis you learn the right way. The moment you master that, he would not change it. Like he taught me 3 compositions, one in Kiravani, one in Shankaravarana, one in Ananda Bhairavi. Only 3 compositions I went to him. But those are, I remember it completely. The picture is there in my head. So that's how in-depth, learning they allow you to do it. And then it will not change. You sing it 10 times, the sangatis will remain the same. I think that was the beauty of his music. That is the beauty of his music. You pick up a lot of things like this. With Srikantan sir, every concert he would have a list ready. I'm sharing all this not as an experience, but for youngsters to pick up some of these qualities. See, this is very important that they need to pick up. Once I asked him to do a Shivaratri concert. Now that was for 45 minutes. Everybody was performing for 45 minutes. I also told him to do the performance. Next day I went to his class and he's telling me he had made the list. A lot of compositions on Shiva, and said, Nodama, see whether this is okay. So I told him, sir, you can sing whatever you want. Why do you need to ask? He said, no, that's not the way you go to concert. You go with seriousness. Whatever concert you are doing, you go with that seriousness and master it. I think these are the things I picked up, and these became my role models. So I really don't have a single role model now.
Okay. And did you have any setbacks in your musical journey, and how did you really face those situations? Because that's really important for young musicians.
I don't think I had setbacks. I was lucky. From the time I started performing, now it's my 48th year of performance, I've been performing. Except the pandemic, that was the spoiled sport. Other than that, I've had maybe I was lucky. I also got the right breaks at the right time, and then I've been performing all over the world. And I also diversified. I didn't do only Carnatic concerts. I also did a lot of collaborative concerts. So that's what kept me completely occupied. So I've always looked from one concert to another. But I'm not saying that I have not had setbacks at all. Setbacks in the sense like maybe a few concerts less here, but it's not been a major thing. But the controversies, yes, major controversies, especially because I made Tarangini Veena. When I made the Tarangini Veena, if I look at today, for example, we have a conference happening shortly, a music conference. So one of my friends, he has done an instrument, but that has been put in the conference to be presented. But when I did the instrument in 2000, the kind of opposition I had was unbelievable, and the controversies that was created around it. Of course, it gave a big boost to my Tarangini Veena, but then I had to face a lot of controversies. Setbacks, no. Because I got my recognition very early in life. In fact, I was not even expecting when I got my Kalaimamani. 10 to 12 years down my career, I had already got Kalaimamani. Before I got the Karnataka State Award, I got Kalaimamani. So I think recognition has come and I got opportunities. But then opportunities don't come easily. You will have to work at it. And it's not only music, you need to do your PR, you need to also keep your music as the top priority, the practice, and that's very important. Focus and practice. Expecting everything else to come, without that, I don't think you will get. Hard work. There is no question, no secondary thing for hard work. You need to work hard, you will get the results.
We all know your love for experimentation, about what you just spoke as well, the Tarangini Veena. So can you just briefly take us down through the journey of creating, or what was the necessity for creating the Tarangini Veena?
Veena, as you know, is a very bulky instrument, and also it's all handmade. So the one Veena which is made today is not like the one Veena which is made yesterday or one which will be made tomorrow. So that's the difference. There is no standardization in any of our instruments for that matter, because it's all handmade and it's come from generation to generation. The manufacturer, the Veena makers make the Veena like that. Other thing is, because it's so bulky and it has so many components like wax, the melam and the bridge. So anything can go wrong, especially when you are traveling, and the kind of traveling I have done with the Veena, it's been crazy. Every trip I have broken the Veena. From 80 to 2000, I was traveling every year or twice a year. Every time I would break the Veena. First time I cried, second time I was depressed. From third time onwards, I learned how to repair it. So, but then the stress was too much. Just before the performance, if you open the Veena and if it's not in order, then it's a big stress. That's one thing. The other thing was, I was very influenced by my performances with the collaborative work I did with many guitarists and various other players, saxophone players and various other players. Every time I went back to perform, like this year I have performed and I go back 6 months later to perform with them, they would use a brand new guitar, brand new instrument with all the technology. Here I was refusing to use anything, keeping a 300-year-old Veena and saying, no, I'm not going to use anything. I think that's one thing I was very keen that I should change. And in 2000, we went to Hanover to perform in Germany for the India Pavilion. They were having a major expo in Hanover. So we had 24 performances in 12 days. It was crazy schedule, morning, evening performances. And I took a dismantled Veena and I had put my kodam, half the kodam in the suitcase, and I had taken the other instrument with me as a guitar. When I went and opened it, it was broken to pieces. In my suitcase, I had done bubble wrapping, I had put it inside the clothes. I don't know how it broke. So first thing I did, I had to repair, and then I couldn't bring back the Veena from the stage because morning, evening performances, and we are staying very close by, and I couldn't transport it. We had to walk to our apartments. So I found it very difficult, and I was also playing with a flutist. Raman came with me on the tour, and in fact it was B.C. Manjunath's first tour abroad. So he came with me on that tour. So the three of us were there, and then I found it very difficult because he would bring his flute back and then he would come back in the night and say, can we do this Muktayam, can we do this composition? I didn't have my instrument. So I was telling him, in fact he was very inspirational, I should say. I said, next time when I come with you, I'll have a portable Veena where I can also say, okay, can we do this, can we do that? I was able to do it. With lot of, there I had many ups and downs. 1999 I started, 97 I started. In the 4 years I made this Veena. At least 5 times I've given up, saying that I won't be able to do it. But finally, with a lot of help from various people and a lot of Veena players themselves who live abroad, they gave me a lot of inputs. And I was able to get the beautiful mics, because I was traveling so much those days. So I was able to pick up a lot of instruments, a lot of keys, bridge, so many things I was able to source from abroad, and then I was able to make the Veena. What I didn't expect was the controversy I created. That became bigger than everything else. But that also made me a stronger person, and also from unexpected quarters, like some of the very traditional people supported me. I'm giving all these details because youngsters, but now you don't have those issues anymore, because I told you just before this, I was mentioning, if you make something, it's accepted very easily now, but those days it was not accepted easily. But then if you have conviction that you are doing something good, I think you should never worry. You should just go ahead and everything will take its own course. One advice I got when these controversies were happening from very senior musicologists and music critics was, because there is something worthwhile you have done, they're all opposing you. If it was something which was not worthwhile, nobody would have bothered. They would have ignored you, saying, what did she do? Nothing. Because they know that, you're going to make that change. That's why they were, can't you see that much, is what they said. And that opened up a lot of things for me, and I believed in it. So I'm very happy that Tarangini Veena has gone through its own transitions, and then some of my students have they've improved on that, and then some of the outsiders who have taken the Veena also have made different versions of it. I'm very happy that I initiated this process, and if they take it forward, I'm very happy.
And we are really proud about that fact, sure. You have tasted success in your musical endeavors, for sure. So how do you manage to sustain success and let it stay you grounded?
You should never chase success. You should chase excellence. I think that's what I have done. I might look very different, and I also, for me, the greatest advantage has been that I didn't come from a musician's family. For me, I had to make my own path. In that, I realized hard work is very important, and focused work, and you chase excellence. Okay, something I can't get on the Veena, you sit and practice and get it, but don't chase success. I don't think I ever chase success. It will come to you if you are good at what you do, and if you have the confidence, and if you build up your strengths. I did my PhD. You become an authority on your own subject. So then everything will follow. That's my conviction, and I work towards it. And I've never taken it easy in my life. It's always, I will never ignore my practice sessions. Whatever happens, or however busy my schedules are otherwise, I will always find that time to practice and to focus on my next concert or next project, what I'm doing. I'm very focused. So that's what helps me.
I think that is a key word all the young musicians have to understand here. So, and we have seen various facets of your personality as a performer, innovator, scholar, and so many more. As an uncompromising guru as well, and as an able administrator, you've been spearheading the learning center at the IME. What was your vision behind setting it up? Why did you see the need of setting up something like a center for excellence, if you can say, as you mentioned?
Basically, as an administrator, I never thought that I would become one. When I was very young, when I just started my career, an unexpected turn that I was made the secretary of Chowdaya Memorial Hall. It's a long story, so we will not go there. So that really started my, parallel career as a cultural administrator. It worked very well for me. I was living very close to Chowdaya, and Chowdaya, we hosted some of the best musicians, and we are giving awards. So I saw the other side of the admin, how it works, the cultural scene. And I was also at one of the premier institutions. From there to the journey at IME, when I came into IME, I said, okay, I'll do only certain things and I will be part of the curatorial team. That was my vision of it. But then as we progressed from year to year, as you know, there was so much happening, and then because this music, I'm so engrossed in music, everything, I was happily jumped into everything, and without knowing I was involved in everything, and that's how I took over Learning Center, because it was ready. The beautiful place was ready and we had not opened the museum. We said, okay, why do we waste such beautiful space? And we started, the journey started there. Though I've been teaching for a long time, as long as I've been performing, I'm also teaching. So I had the experience, I had taught at the university, I had done my PhD. So I had this background to start the Learning Center. I always wanted one thing, whatever I want to do it well. That's the way, if I do a stage, I'm there physically present, putting everything together, because I want everything to be aesthetic, everything to be in its place. I have also worked with people who have been visionaries like that. I have everything set and I'm very disciplined in my work, and I didn't know that I'm a great time manager. I can manage my time. I can do 100 things in a day but still be focused on what I'm doing. And I think my journey for 9 years in IME was one of my most beautiful, rewarding journey I've had, because we were interacting with the best brains in the country, and we are putting up, I think what we have done in IME is something wonderful to the whole country, for the whole music world. Learning Center is part of the museum, so we had to look at excellence, and then it's been a journey. It's still a journey which is going on. I was very keen that we should start a curriculum-based program, because what happens is it's not structured very well. Carnatic music is structured to a large extent. Wherever you go, you start from Sarlevasi and it's basically structured. But then we don't follow a kind of a syllabus, and the junior, senior Vidvat syllabus, I think it's pretty much outdated right now. I can boldly say that. We need to revamp and relook at many things, which I think we will be able to do at IME. For the new age students, they're not going to be like me. To expect them to do what we did 50 years back, or me going back to Gurukula, which was not a possibility. For them, it's not a possibility to be submissive to the teacher. No, they question everything now. If I teach a composition, if I teach a Nagumomu, they'll say, Madam, I have heard the other version, why are you not teaching me this Sangati? So I need to have the answer why I am not teaching you that Sangati, because I don't believe in a few of the Sangatis which will happen on my instrument, or that Sangati I think is not the good Aberi as far as I am concerned. So, but I should be able to explain it to them. That's a kind of knowledge that a teacher needs to have now, because the students are going to question us. It's not going to be the same, and also they fast track everything. When we all went, nobody asked us how long you are going to learn, and we happily learned for 12 years without going to the same teacher. But that does not happen anymore. So the times have changed. I think we need to relook at it. I think IME Learning Center will look at all these issues and come out with a syllabus, but still maintain the purity of music, purity of teaching the right kind of music and appreciation, and also it's become global. We do get so many people from outside the country who wants to learn, who wants to understand our music, our way of thinking, and our layered music, which is Carnatic music is so complex. So a lot of musicians abroad are very keen to learn this complex format. I think in that IME's Learning Center will play a great role. That's my vision, and I hope all of you will take it forward.
And according to you, how important is self-discipline? So how do you have your eyes on your goal without getting distracted? Because in the current times, as you see, there are so many distractions one can actually go towards. But what would you advise them?
If you are looking at a music career, becoming an engineer or doing some kind of other course is a waste of time. No, if you are focused, if you want to do music as your career, there are so many options which have opened up right now. So I think instead of wasting 5 years becoming an engineer and not using it, I had to do a history MA because there was no other options for me. Maybe you had to do engineering because you had no options at that time. But at this present scenario, you should concentrate. Instead of wasting those 5 years, if you put in that kind of, if you are going to be a serious musician, I'm talking about them. For example, I'll tell you, if there is a 10 people, 10 students are learning, maybe I can pick one of them. Or sometimes even I don't get that student also. So it's, if musical talent is something else. But then most of the people who have that great talent of music to make it as a musician also are very good at studies, academics. So the choice has to be made. I think time has come that music should be considered as a career and not done as a second career. I think if you look at it and then if you concentrate and work hard, especially in classical music, it does take time. Even if you are a prodigy, you come up, you go through ups and downs, and then you yourself start questioning your own music and saying, what I played 10 years back, I may not like it now. The way I approach every Kriti changes every time I go back to revisit it after 5 years and say, maybe this Sangati is not what I'm looking for, because in 5 years you have evolved as a musician. So if you are looking at all that, wasting 5 precious years when you are young should be avoided. At this point of time I'm saying this. 10 years back if you had asked me, and if I had a good student who was doing very well in academics, I would say, go pursue your academics.
True. So what would you advise the parents in the current situation when it's such a cutthroat competition for academics as well as musical career? So what would you advise the parents specifically?
I have seen I have sat on many boards, and then where we have selected very talented students, I have seen most of them have opted for music. In fact, right now I have supporting 3 scholarship students who are all doing homeschooling because they want to concentrate on music. I think people who have that extraordinary talent, the parents are very smart. They do that. It's only what happens at the mid-level, that's okay. In the mid-level, you can always concentrate both on academics and this, because not everybody is going to be a top-class performer. If in the whole scenario, you will have 10 to 12 serious performing artists. So when the numbers are so low, if you have the talent, I think you need to pursue. Otherwise, you should learn some kind of an art which makes you a better human being, better focus on the right things than the wrong things. Like instead of doing drugs and so many other complications you get into life, this is another kind of a drug. You get addicted to music. So it's a good thing to do. So you should look at these things.
I've always believed in this. Once a student, you're always a student of music at least. I would like to know, were you a curious student and are you still?
Yes.
The same way?
Listening is the most important aspect of music, especially once you come to a senior level of learning the creative music, creative aspect of Carnatic music. You need to listen to music. The more you listen, you become a better musician. So I still go to concerts, and there's not only you learn, but you also know what you should not do. You learn a lot of things which you should not. But then as an youngster, you need to be guided through this. I agree with you, a student, if once you start music, you are a student all through your life, because music it's such a big ocean. You can only take this much in your hand, in your fist, right? So you cannot take much more than that. So every time you go, you can take this much more, and that's it. Still there is so much to learn. And there is so much to improve, so much to meditate. And then each age, earlier I was looking at only playing speed, and then learning more and more compositions. Right now I'm going through a phase where I want to dwell on each Sangati, enjoy each Sangati. I also think that if you start enjoying, the audience also start enjoying. So each phase is different in life. You will learn and you will take it like that.
So what does life mean to you?
What does life mean to me? Life has been full of music, and my most important thing life is my Veena. Everything else surrounds that. My whole life surrounds, everything happens around it, because of it, and so many times not because of it, but then everything If you don't focus like that, you can't be a performing artist. You can be an artist, no, but if you are a performing artist, practice, especially an instrument like Veena, which is so huge, you need to practice so much, you need to give your best effort. My life is that, and everything else happened around it.
So, how do you stay relevant across generations? Because you are considered a role model for many young musicians, including me. So, we always look up to you. And how do you just stay like this?
A lot is because of all of you. I accept that I were, especially after I came into IME, as long as I was president of Chaudaya, I was associated with Chaudaya, I was the youngest. So when I came to IME, I was the oldest. So I worked with a lot of younger people. It's always great to work with younger generation, and they come out with new ideas. And I also have always been listening to, because my daughters love music, especially my younger daughter. She's very much into music, and she'll always make me listen to all kinds of music, and she wants my reaction. She will insist when I'm sitting here, she'll find something, Mom, you have to listen to this, and she's waiting for me to react, and she takes that as, whether it's approved or not approved. So I've been listening to a lot of music. If I go out with her, I just went out and came with her, and she was playing some some new age band and said, you must listen to their music. So I've always been, since I'm doing a lot of collaboration, I'm also pretty open to a lot of things. And I worked, the last 10 years, I worked with very young girls, especially women. So it's been challenging to work with them, because you always have to think. And then if I became technology savvy, it's because of all of you. Because every time I said, call me, you will say, no madam, send me a mail. Sending a mail was not the big issue, but then relating to that, there were so many problems. So many times you cannot put an attachment to it the right way. So I picked up a lot of things. It's always fun to learn new things. I'm always curious. I've always been a curious person.
I just had a personal question. So, how would you see women taking music as their careers?
I don't know. Music is not gender biased. So surprisingly, a lot of gender bias outside. In the music world, at least, I have faced very little gender bias. And if you look at the present scenario of Carnatic music, it's full of women. There are lesser number of men than women. I don't think it's... the only problem women face is it does not involve the regular 10 to 5 job. When everybody is home on Saturday, Sunday, you are busy performing, because most of the performances happen on Saturday, Sunday, and then you travel. I think if you are willing to do that kind of sacrifice, which most of the women, as women, are not willing to do it. I have my own students who don't want to sacrifice a family function, a birthday, a wedding anniversary. I have given up on all that. I'm never there. I've always been somewhere else. For my own birthday or from any one of their birthdays, and then so many big events you miss in their life. If you are willing to do that kind of sacrifice, and I never think it is a sacrifice. I think my focus is somewhere else, so it's okay. It does not matter if I miss one family function. It does not become a huge issue, as I see, especially my students, when I see them, it's a huge issue. They cannot miss all that. For me, it was never an issue. It's never an issue right now. If you are okay with that, I think women can make a good career out of music.
So striking a balance is really important. Yeah. So finally, what would you advise young musicians?
I don't think we should advise them at all. The first thing,
that's the best advice.
That's the best advice. They will all make their own path. But when you take that path, a kind of a guided path it should be. You should go to a good teacher and learn the right kind of music. At least your basics, and till you attain certain standard, because there is so much of distraction and so much of music you get to listen to. For example, only in Carnatic music, you get to listen to so much which we are not able to do it at that time. It's very good to get your grounding right. I think if you get your grounding right and then you fly, you learn from here, you pick up something from there, something from here, all that is good. But then if you start picking up everything before you learn, I think that's where it becomes difficult. So if you learn the basics very well, and then start experimenting, exploring, then everything will fall into place.
And I hope everybody would really consider that seriously. And thank you so much for your time, taking time off from your busy schedule to share some insights from your experience and your passion. And we really look up to you, and we always look up to you and look forward to all your musical works.
Thank you for inviting me for Agastya's Sarga Samvad series. I really enjoyed doing this. I hope you'll be able to take some of the points which I've addressed, especially the youngsters. I would be honored if you can consider some of these points. Thank you so much.